Welcome to the Tale Slate. We are talking about Captain America Civil War. This is our second panel on this movie because we loved it so much. And I am here with Kevin Mokedanz and Michael Oakes. And let me get your thoughts on the film. Let's start with you, Michael. What did you think overall, your impressions?
Okay, so overall, loved the film. I have two gripes.
Oh, gripes, okay.
One of which is forgivable, the other is not, at all. The first one is Marvel's obvious keen interest in keeping all their characters alive. A little bit. I think that it would have made a better story if Rhodey had died, honestly. I think they did a really good job with what they did for making him paralyzed, which is, it just adds weight to the whole emotional
He's not going
part.
to stay paralyzed.
No.
Tony Stark's going to give him tech that'll make him walk.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't stay paralyzed, he'll recover in some fashion. Like even if he does stay paralyzed, he will have tech, like you said,
he'll be able to move around.
make it better. My second gripe, which is the unforgivable one, was the ending to the movie. They used something a lot of people call a Deus Ex Machina. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's a situation where out of the players, or in this case, characters' control, something comes along and fixes everything.
Okay, what fixed everything?
The letter at the end. At the very end of the movie, where everybody is basically pissed off at each other constantly, they're dealing with the disability now, everything's over and done with, and Captain America's starting to bust people out of jail. Tony Stark gets a letter, and it fixes everything. Albeit that's a human-made situation like that.
Do you think it fixed everything?
I don't know why they would have put it in if it wasn't supposed to wrap up the movie, right? Like, I mean, like, you can clearly see that Tony Stark was taken back by it and actually enjoyed it a little bit. Like he felt warm about the actual letter. Like he was saying, Captain America was saying, if you ever need us, you can call on us, sort of thing. And the music was kind of giving an up-tune beat, and the entire team was getting together. Like, that letter was meant for a wrap-up, essentially. I would have much preferred the movie to have let things stay tense, because the ending of the movie was essentially Tony Stark was yelling his ass off to Captain America to return the shield, and basically he was pissed off, and they didn't settle things. And I would have much preferred to see that like that, where they just let it settle. I think up until that very, very singular moment, that was an amazing movie. I loved it in general.
Okay, cool.
And the other thing is that if they didn't include that letter, they could have had a follow-up movie, like a second part to Civil War, which would have made an even better one, because then they could actually have more things happen and like a huge, more broad conclusion to the whole thing.
Yeah. Kevin, thoughts in general? What do you think of the film in general?
Well, I did like it. I mean, for what they had, they made the best of it, considering the fact that Fox owns the other half of Marvel. And I quite liked it. There was this one thing I had a problem with, which was the villain. And
So what were your issues with the villain? I think you and I have chatted a bit about this. So
yes,
what were your issues?
we've had a big debate about it.
Yeah.
Well, with Baron Zemo, in the comics, he's quite powerful. He's got, a sword. He's like a swordsman, I guess you could say. But in fact, he's worked with the Nazis in World War II. But I get it; they're trying to modernize him and all that. But I just felt, a little bummed out that, he didn't have his iconic purplish red mask with him, or his sword. I get his character, his motivations, like, I like that, but,
So my question to that would be, well, the two things, a point and a question. If he was wearing his purple mask and carrying a sword, he would have been very conspicuous trying to sneak in and do what he did, right?
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking was, maybe we'll get that later. Maybe this is the beginnings of the character.
Just like in Captain America 2 with Crossbones, they showed him getting the building collapses on him, and then in Civil War, we get this opening scene, which I really enjoyed, like him just, trunching through the building, and then, he tries to, commit suicide, but fails, and then it kind of turns into a karma situation where it's like, aha, you thought you could get away from Hydra, but
Well, I really hope they don't do the same thing as what they did with Crossbones, because again, like you said, he was introduced in Captain America 2 for, I don't know, 20 minutes, which, I mean, again, people thought it would be a cool villain, and then he was killed off in the first half hour. Gone. So, I mean, hopefully they don't do that with Baron Zemo, where he's like killed off in the next movie in the first half hour.
He could be somebody that they keep in prison for a while and bring back a few movies later.
Oh yeah, and that's probably what they were doing, right? But I think they'll probably give him the costume with the hood and everything. He actually gets it becomes welded to his face, so it's going to be an accident. So I think this is the start of it, and then they're going to introduce him more in the next movie or some other movie. They might even give it to somebody else, because I'm pretty sure he's generally an Avengers in general villain, not just Captain America.
So what do you think of the new characters, the Spider-Man and Black Panther?
Oh, I loved Black Panther. I mean, his lines were just the best. I mean, I like that one scene where it's like, I didn't kill him, and then he's like, then why were you running? And then, you know, I mean, and his line with Baron Zemo, he's like, vengeance has consumed you. I mean, just his quotes in general were like amazing, but his skills with fighting, I mean, it was well done, but I mean, most of it was CGI, especially with Spider-Man. I mean, I didn't like how they made like everyone CGI. I would have liked to see them, you know, actually going at it like they did.
Throwing them through the air.
Yeah, on the wires and stuff, but it was a great movie. I mean, I read the comics a lot, and they did because in the comics it had to do with mutants, and obviously Marvel Studios doesn't own mutants. They own like the Inhumans and stuff. So, I mean, they made the best of it, and, you know, there were some things of betrayal, and it was more complex with the comic book because, you know, it involved, you know, because after that, you know, Captain America was also killed.
Oh, really?
And, you know, they had to go to the end zone, and then, you know, Cloak takes them out of the end zone, and then they just duke it out in the city, and then they're like, okay, we damaged the city, and so...
They damaged a lot of stuff in this movie.
That was what we were mentioning last video, where they actually had like the big climactic ending where they've caused so much damage, and they're looking around like, okay, yeah, we need to be under control. So they clearly had a different ending for the Civil War.
Yeah. Now, what did you think of the action scenes in general? I thought they were done extremely well. Unlike some movies where you can't follow it, it's just visual noise. This was well done. You could easily follow what was going on in all the action scenes.
I think they did, to answer to the two questions at once with the whole how did I like the two characters as well as the fighting scenes, I think they, in general, the characters moved the way they should have. Spider-Man and Black Panther were very well done as far as their actual moves go. Like some other people were saying, Black Panther looked like he was a cat, like he was moving like a cat. He was twirling in the air, he landed like it. I thought he did it really well. The Spider-Man, it's pretty hard to screw that up because we've seen how many movies of Spider-Man?
But this one was done so well.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things I was really happy about is that the fact that he was so young. Because he is actually supposed to be really young, and the last two...
Not forever.
No. Well, actually, see, that's the thing, because there was...
He's got to grow up eventually.
I watched a video, and it was very interesting how somebody had actually said he's probably got the most tormented existence ever because of the fact that he is perpetually the same age in the comics forever, stuck in a preteen sort of situation where he's getting the acne and he's got all this stuff. He can't grow up at all. But I liked how they did a lot younger actor, because the last two Spider-Man, they were good. I liked them, but especially the last one that was out, I can't remember what his name was. Andrew Garfield. His humor seemed to be very. He tried to be the awkward teenager, but ended up just being the blabbering sort of guy. I think that is a good effort, but you need to look younger.
Yeah, and also they had the talkative Spider-Man. Some of the great stuff is in the fight. You know, when he grabs the arm of Bucky's arm, and he's like, dude, you have a metal arm.
Oh, yeah.
And he's, you know,
he's
talking to
fighting
Captain America, his shield.
Yeah.
The shield doesn't follow the laws of physics.
Like
all this kind of stuff.
he's holding an arm that's literally ripping into Iron Man's suit, and just casually saying it, you know?
So
like,
how strong? Spider-Man is one of the stronger ones, right? Am I right, Kevin? You
yeah, he's... In fact, there was this one moment in the comics where he nearly died, but he just lifts a building off of himself, and he makes it out. I mean,
Am I right that I've heard somebody say that Spider-Man is sort of second strongest to the Hulk in the Marvel universe?
yeah, and especially since he has the senses, and the webs are pretty strong too.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Hulk, he's pretty strong because at one point, this was actually recent, where he just destroyed a planet in one punch.
Yeah, the Hulk
he was on world because the Hulk, he has multiple personalities, and one of them is World Breaker, and the World Breaker is, if he gets angry, he could actually make the planet explode.
Well,
that's the Hulk isn't the exception as far as strength goes, because the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets, right? So as far as people who don't have, or who do have a limit on their strength goes, Spider-Man is one of the stronger ones.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of the reason for the Civil War? I mean, did you find yourself siding with one side over the other?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Who were you siding with?
You know what? I was mostly siding with Tony Stark. I mean, there were a few moments here and there. I saw what they were doing. I get why Captain America was doing what he was doing, but I don't know. I was kind of torn at the beginning, and then they had the funeral, right? And that's where you saw that woman get on and do the whole speech thing that basically cemented it in Captain America's head. It was almost as if that was that was the purpose of that in the scene, but it almost was, a little forced for, don't move your position. Be as concrete as you want to be. So I think that Captain America was a little too stern and holding his position. He wasn't willing to compromise anything, not even to consider it.
Did you find yourself on one side or the other?
Well, before I actually saw the movie, I was siding Captain America, because he's just trying to help his friend, and obviously Bucky, he doesn't mean to do all this stuff. He's being brainwashed, by Hydra to do all this. And in the comics, I mean, that guy you saw getting drowned in the beginning of the movie by Zemo, he was actually the creator of the Winter Soldier, and he actually helped out Captain America in the comics. But, then Zemo just kills him. And also, what I found kind of strange is, since Zemo, he has a kid, and his kid actually becomes the next Zemo, but he said that his kid died in the Sokovian.
Yeah, I think you can forgive some of that stuff because it's their
comic
movie
books
version.
yeah.
So I mean, they're going to be different.
Mm-hmm. Well, like comic books, they said they weren't able to find Thor. Sorry, in the movie they said they couldn't find Thor.
Yeah.
But in the comics, he actually, because Thor's missing, Tony Stark makes like a robot replica of him.
Oh. Actually, it was Reed Richards.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot he's a super genius in the comics.
So I just want to, what were your favorite moments in terms of some of maybe the action scenes, or what was your favorite scene? Kevin, do you have a favorite scene?
Well, I did like the airport scene, especially with Ant-Man. I didn't expect him to go big. I mean, I know he has that power, but not in this. I expected him, to be that little small itty bitty guy. But then, this was the introduction of Giant Man or Goliath.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's different suits, right? So. But it was just awesome how he's just whipping things around. And then he got Black Panther. He's doing like jujitsu. I don't know, but he's just flipping around doing his thing. And I mean, the fight scenes were just phenomenal.
Yeah. What about, there was that one bit in that tunnel chase. Was it Captain America who grabbed the motorcycle?
It was Winter Soldier grabbed the motorcycle from the guy.
That was amazing.
That was.
What was he coming towards him or going away?
It was coming towards him.
And
He grabs
it, spins it around. The guy flies up and he hops on it. And goes.
He kind of tears the guy off as he's doing it. Yeah, and he turns it around and goes.
Pretty impressive.
My personal favorite was the ending stuff, the last few scenes.
Fight.
Yeah, the fight between Iron Man and the Winter Soldier and Captain America. In particular, I liked. I don't know. I agree that I really liked the airport scene, but I think I liked this one more because of the emotional part behind it.
The airport scene was a fun scene to watch.
Yeah, it was incredibly entertaining, but
I was actually worried that they were going to kill Iron Man. When he's smashing the thing down on his arc reactor, thinking, doesn't he die if that goes off?
Because in Iron Man 3, he got the arc reactor removed, just like in the Extremis storyline where...
Okay, so
they fixed the whole thing, yeah.
I was worried for a second for Iron Man.
He was okay. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I don't know. I didn't know. I figured nobody was going to die, but you know, it's because Marvel's Marvel.
Yeah.
But I really liked. This is kind of to put a good note on Black Panther. He seems to be very good at fighting, and his the person who played him was amazing as
Oh,
far
he
as
was
emotional
great,
goes.
yeah.
Like that ending scene, like the whole they've been consumed by vengeance. But I won't let it control me any longer.
Yeah.
That was perfect. I thought that was great, and that he stopped him from committing suicide. I thought the whole thing was just generally well done, and I never saw the whole Iron Man with his parents dying. I never saw that coming.
Oh, cool.
I was surprised.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was good.
Well,
though.
what a lot of people don't know is that Tony Stark's actually adopted anyway, so.
Isn't that just something new? And you were saying that's new in the comic.
Well,
storyline?
yeah, well, somewhat, yeah, but I mean, we were aware of their biological son, Arno Stark, before. I mean, with the Planet X storyline known as, and you got Arno Stark as Iron Man 2020, as he's referred to. And, but yeah, I mean,
So we don't know if he's adopted in the film or
Yeah,
not.
and I mean it doesn't
It doesn't
change
really
the
matter, actually,
yeah,
I
it
guess.
doesn't change
Like
the
they-
emotional
Yeah.
baggage.
They could say he's adopted, but I mean, just the backstory to it is just way too complicated. I don't think they actually own the rights to the rest of the characters that were involved.
Then they're fine with Westwood. Yeah. Overall, this movie was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it, and it actually makes me look forward to seeing more because there's been some that I haven't enjoyed so much, but this was really good. So there you have it. Our thoughts on Captain America: Civil War.